Well, hey everybody, we are going to take a look at a technique for sharpening called lab sharpening. It's actually LAB sharpening, but it uses the LAB color mode, which a lot of people call the lab color mode. In showing you what we're going to do, I'm going to show you where this method kind of comes in, where this method for sharpening can have an advantage. And I want to tell you right up front that it took me a few photos to find one that worked for it. So it's not something that's going to work for every single one of your photos, but when you do see the negative effects of sharpening using, let's say, the unsharp mask filter, this may be a time where maybe you want to go over and try to use the LAB method that I'm about to show you. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to press Command or Control J, duplicate the layer. We're going to go to Filter, Sharpen. I'm going to go to Unsharp Mask, and I'm going to hit it with a pretty decent amount of sharpening. I just want to make sure you're able to see it on here. Okay, so let's go with 225. I'll do a radius of about 1.4. All right, and I'm going to hit OK. So we've hit it with a decent amount of sharpening. In fact, if I zoom into the photo to 100%, you'll see before, after. So lots of sharpening. Well, let's go ahead and hide this layer. And in fact, I'm going to double click on it and name it Unsharp Mask, USM. Let's go to the background, Command or Control J again, duplicate it. And this one I'm going to call LAB. Now we have to go over to the LAB color space to use this. So we're going to go to Image Mode. I'm going to go down here to Lab Color, LAB Color, and choose Don't Flatten. And you're not going to really see anything change. But when we do LAB sharpening, what we do, the whole reason that we're here is we go over to the Channels palette and we click on the Lightness channel. All the color information is stored in A and B. Okay, so all color information is stored here, but all the luminance, all the detail information is stored in the lightness channel. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep ourselves from affecting the color of the image while we're sharpening. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. But we're going to come up here to the filter menu to make sure I apply the same settings. I'm just going to click Unsharp Mask because it's the last one I ran. So when I do it, it applies the same exact setting. We'll click on the Lab Composite channel here. Come back over to the layers palette and then just switch back over to RGB mode. Okay, and it's a free change. You don't degrade the file at all by changing back and forth. So you're not losing anything you're not hurting the image by switching back and forth between RGB and LAB. So let's zoom in a little bit more here. Let's take a look right below these strings here. And what I have shown right now is this is LAB mode. That's before, that's after. What I want you to pay attention to is not the sharpening, because there's definitely sharpening going on. In fact, it's probably over sharpened. But what I really want you to pay attention to is the color. Look at the color of what's back here. Before, after. While we sharpen the details, the overall color pretty much remains the same. Now let's turn on Unsharp Mask. Before, after. And in fact, to make it even easier, what's this? Let's turn on Unsharp Mask. And let's turn on LAB on top of it. Watch the difference. All right, you should see. Let's zoom in. I'm going to zoom in a lot further here. Take a look at this color inside of here. You'll see when I turn on Unsharp Mask, which is what we see now, it gets a little desaturated. All right, this is with LAB. This is with Unsharp Mask, and we start to lose some of the color inside of here. It loses some of that orange color, and that's the advantage of that LAB mode over just doing Unsharp Mask on a layer. Notice we did Unsharp Mask. We used the same filter for both of them, but we just did it in a little bit of a different way here, and that's to try to keep some of that color. I mentioned it in the beginning, and that is it doesn't work on every photo. So most of the time when I do my sharpening, I just duplicate the layer and I'll use Unsharp Mask or even Smart Sharpen. But I'll do my sharpening on a separate layer. I won't necessarily worry about it because it's not always hurting the color of my photo. But when I do have a photo where I zoom in and I start to see a little bit of some of that desaturated color start to appear in there, that's when you'll want to take a look at that LAB mode. Again, using the Unsharp Mask filter, same exact filter we used normally, except we're just doing it on that lightness channel inside of the LAB mode. Okay, so there's a little sharpening tip for you. Again, not something you're going to use all the time, but when you do need it, it's a good trick to have to pull out.